Call the Kitty Hawk Town Council to order this February 24th, 2016 at Kitty Hawk Town Hall. It is now 9 a.m. We have a very short agenda. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved, Mr. Mayor.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, with that, I have some special session opening remarks. Let me get this thing over here. The special session has been called to ensure open council discussion on past, current, and future events with regard to the beach zone flood damage mitigation efforts in Kitty Hawk. From the first hint of opportunity to accomplish something that might prove helpful toward preventing routinely suffered damage in our beach zone, Council has weighed financial risk to the community versus physical benefit to town and county. Hearings, taxing rates, and municipal service districts have been established for the purpose of adding sand to our beach in an effort to mitigate ocean damage. Construction bids were let but came back too high. Contractor scheduling was not favorable to our high-velocity, storm-prone beach. As a result, the low bid was rejected. Our purpose at this assembly is to determine how to proceed. In order to properly serve this community, there are several risk factors that have been added to known and previously accepted concerns. Some examples are: 1, from the beginning, the beach nourishment taxing funding was stretched to near maximum in order to cover all the currently envisioned projects. However, there was some reserve factored into the equation for possible higher bid costs or maintenance issues. That small reserve became questionable when the fund, designed legislatively for beach restoration, was repurposed for other use. Done once, it can happen again to a fund already maxed well into the future. The Beach Nourishment Occupancy Tax Fund has no reserve to cover cost overrun for a town. We are subject to cost above what is budgeted for this project. Bid costs came in higher than estimated. While some increase is normal, it became impossible to overcome with no reserve in the Nourishment Tax Fund. Now we have to decide whether to rebid and how to fund the next bid. Extending the window of time for construction from any time the contractor chooses in 2016 to completion by the end of 2017 may help. However, discussion with potential contractors indicates that disruptions in other contracts could make them available to do some or all of this project. It's rather like booking a $40 million ticket, knowing the carrier is overbooked and we will be placed on standby if not bumped. How then do we give proper notice to rental companies or hotels for accommodation of tourists? 3, as previously stated, contractor availability is an issue. Numerous dredging and our nourishment jobs are coming online in 2016. Expanding the original 12-month window to 14 months did not help. Most of the contractors had fall and winter work schedules. That presents serious risk. Interrupted work during a storm could leave equipment on the beach. Partially finished work may be washed away before the job is completed. Depending on timing of the payment surveys, the question of who pays to put back the damage would be in question. For example, FEMA would only pay for a named storm. The contractor would pay if damage occurred prior to a construction payment survey. The town of Kitty Hawk would pay under other conditions. Determining a responsible party becomes a crapshoot. If all those risk factors are insufficient to cause pause, the recent court case in Nags Head over compensation for easement condemnation has raised the possibility of extremely expensive legal action for the town. Consider that 39 easements remain outstanding as of this date. Each is a condemnation case required to construct the Kitty Hawk project. Workaround is not feasible. Based on the award verdict and cost to defend in the Nags Head case, Kitty Hawk could be subject to millions of dollars in costs we cannot afford. This town has been down that road before. Can you imagine our constituents bearing that burden again? 5, all this risk is cumulative to the remaining 9-year debt for the firehouse. The fire department says the fire truck needs replacement. The just finished ISO fire inspection indicates the fire station is required in the northern end of town. With all of this in mind, I ask each council member to go to South Nags Head and view the current results of that project in consideration of the question before us today. Now, the question that council must answer is, A, do we instruct the project engineer to rebid the Duck, Kitty Hawk, Kill Devil Hills project from any start date after contract signing, which is assumed sometime in May 2016 through the end of 2017, or B, is it in the best interest of our citizens to abandon the Kitty Hawk part of the project for another time when more stable funding is assured? Did each council member get a chance to go down there and have a look?
Sir.
Yes.
I'll let the record show all answered in the affirmative. Folks, it's time to put up or shut up. I've tried to put the facts in front of you. We're open for discussion. Who wants to start?
I'll start off. First of all, you did a great job of laying out exactly the possibilities, where we stand, what could happen, worst case scenarios, best case scenarios, everything. So it's all out in front of us. That's what the purpose of this meeting, and thank you for taking the time to do this. I'll just go to this thing here, the very, very last statement that you said, for another time when more stable funding is assured. There's not going to be another time. This is it. There's not going to be another time when the people of Dare County are going to be able to have beach nourishment. The people of Kitty Hawk are going to have beach nourishment. If you think it's going to happen, I don't think it's going to happen in my lifetime because this money's not out there. So this is their one shot to get this. The reason people come down here for the beach, they don't come to go back in Kitty Hawk Village. They don't come down here to go over to Manio. They come down here for the beach, and there's other things that come into play, going and through the Nags Head Woods and the fish and all that stuff, but they come for the beach, the sun and so forth. If we don't have that beach, they're not going to come. It's going to destroy our revenues. It's going to put us in a worse situation than we can ever be with this beach nourishment project. My vote, we need to go forward with this thing. We're already in bid with the towns now. What it would be like if Kill Devil Hills did it, if Duck did it, and Kitty Hawk's the little trough here that doesn't do it. Who is going to come to Kitty Hawk and spend their money and stay at the Hilton? It's going to come and spend in little cottage courts that we have left now, which there aren't many. Who's going to come and eat the Black Pelican, Hurricane Moe's, put their dollars and cents in our economy? They're not going to come here. They're going to go somewhere else. If we have no tourism, we have nothing down here. We have no other kind of industry for people to come. Jeff's son's having to go to California, go to school, and the surf's out there, and my son's living in Wilmington and so forth because there's nothing here to keep our young people here for industries except tourism and the trades, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief. Let's stay on track, do what we got to do, and do the best we can.
All right.
I'll go next if okay. I've said before that Kitty Hawk is our home and Kitty Hawk needs our help. We have to protect our home. This is an important issue that's obvious from the people who are here this morning. Thank you for coming out. I see a lot of faces that don't even live in the city limits of Kitty Hawk, so that shows us it's important to everyone here. Getting away from what you said about tourism, you know, one of the main purposes we started this project from the very beginning was protect infrastructure between the highways, protect our highways. We've seen what happens to our roads, to our dunes. We need to do all we can to protect those dunes and protect the infrastructure. It's common sense to me. We had 3 bids that came in high. They all know they came in high, and it's common sense to me if we rejected their bids and asked them to rebid, hopefully they've got enough common sense to come in lower this time. So that's what I'm hoping for. I agree with Irvin. I don't think we've got any choice at all but to proceed with the project that we've started.
Lynn?
Okay, I guess I'll go next. I agree with Irvin and Craig. I certainly don't like the risk, and I don't mind stepping up and saying that it does bother me. But it bothers me to do absolutely nothing. The unknown of what's going to happen, we don't have any say-so in what might happen with the 37 people, or if the sand's not distributed at the right time and it washes away. It's all a risk. But the risk of doing absolutely nothing, I can pretty much see what's going to happen over at our beach. We've witnessed it twice in less than 2 months. We don't have very much beach left. It's all about in the road now. We need to do something. Doing nothing, I don't think, is an option for this board after we have gone this far. Once again, the risks are high, but the risk of nothing is even higher. So with that being said, I feel like we need to stay on board, hope the county works with us, and we can get this project through. And also, the citizens that haven't signed the easement will come forward to take some of this burden off of this council. That's putting a lot of weight on us to put this town in a financial lawsuits that could potentially last and affect whether my child moves back to Kitty Hawk if the taxes are too high. So I want to stay on board, but if any of you know some of the residents that aren't signing the easement, so we're not taking your property. We just need to be able to work there. So I'm on board to rebid, stay the course.
I agree 100% with the other council members who've already had something to say. And Gary, this, as always, is an awesome summary of everything. I think the risk of doing nothing is higher than the risk of going forward. And I really think we need to put the bid for rebid back out, and I think we need to sit back and see what comes in. There's a significant amount of business for the companies, and perhaps some people who didn't bid to begin with will come on board and send us some information.
There is a chance that one extra bidder would come forward. And the reason that bidder didn't bid was because he just couldn't work in 2016. He had asked about pushing the project out to 2017, but everybody wants it done yesterday, so he dropped out of that. So it's possible a rebid would bring in a fourth bidder. The numbers are out there, so the chances that it's going to be any lower certainly are not good. However, pushing it into 2017 does give the fund, the Beach Nourishment Tax Fund, another year to add some money to it. And that's really what's being counted on as far as a rebid's concerned. Now, a rebid doesn't mean that, you know, if it comes in even higher, it has to be accepted. But at some point, there's no more time because by the end of June, a contract has to be signed or the MSD that is in place goes away and all that money goes back and you start over from scratch. So those are the options. I do want to add a couple of things just so that you, before you make a motion, you can consider them. I did call about the Beach Road and NC State DOT. Jerry Jennings assured me that whether the beach nourishment went forward or did not go forward, it had no link to what their commitment to keeping that road, as long as it's feasible, open and repaired. So the state has recognized the responsibility in that direction, and unless something in a big storm washes everything away, they'll go put it back, and they've told me that. I also had a discussion with Stanley Riggs. I have his book, I've read his book, and I know some people have said that, you know, we didn't take into consideration academic thoughts onto the matter. Well, we did. And I knew Stanley Riggs from my time on the governor's offshore energy meeting. So I got to know him, and I called him up, and we had a nice, long talk. And I said, Stanley, the book that you wrote, you and some colleagues over in the university, basically kind of stopped short when it come north of Oregon Inlet. You're talking about string of pearls and ferries and all that sort of thing, but I didn't really see anything about what happens north of there. It's kind of like you didn't want to go there. I said, well, yeah, we do have some opinions there, and in fact, NCDOT and academia apparently had some meeting a long time ago, back when storms were tearing up 12, back at the Black Pelican, and they decided that the best thing for our beachfront was to turn it into a park, and that was his answer. So that's our studied people telling us what to do. All right. Now, one other thing. If you commit today to rebidding the process and all the things that I brought to your attention, then basically, once that bid comes in and is accepted, you're in. There is no backing out at that point because it would be terribly disruptive. It'd be disruptive now, but it could be corrected if you were to pull out today so that, for example, Nags or Kill Devil Hills could have their taper built in and still rebid Duck and Kill Devil Hills. Once the bid comes in for all three projects and is accepted as such, then whatever comes after that is ours. We own it, and that includes any lawsuits that legal might have to deal with, now or later. It deals with any shortfalls that we might have to deal with, or we, all these folks, okay? So that's it. That's the other thing I'm going to put out there for you to consider. All right. I've done all I know how to bring you, the public, the information that we have so that you understand where this council is getting its information and what's driving it. All right, council, do I hear a motion?
I got one thing to say first, and I did, and Greg touched on this, but when you're up here, I had things I was going to say and had them written down, and I missed this one, but the point that he made about the saving the properties between the highways and saving the road, that is a very intricate part of this whole beach replenishment project. If you were here during Isabel, and I see a lot of folks out here right here, we were devastated. We had 2.5, 3 foot of water out there between the highways. It was a mess. If you go further north and you see Virginia Beach and you see Sandbridge at the time, which had it, their issues they had there were much less than what we had. So as Jeff said, to try to do something is very, very important. If you don't do anything, you're not going to get anything. So having said that, I'd like to make a motion that we instruct the project engineer to rebid the Duck, Kitty Hawk, Kill Devil Hills project from the start date after signing the contract.
Do I hear a second? All right. Irvin made the motion. Craig seconded. Is there any further discussion? All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? I am no. For the following reasons. Contingent funding has become unreliable considering the increased risk caused by the underfunded beach nourishment occupancy tax. Potentially huge legal costs caused by the numerous property owners that failed to provide construction easements make continuing the project not in the best interest of the public at large. The ability of the town to provide essential services, necessary capital purchases, pay, and benefits to employees would be severely impacted by either legal or nourishment cost overruns, considering the increased risk factors previously documented. All right. All right. The engineer will be so instructed. Anything else? All right. Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.